Chapter 20 of Napoleon and Josephine, The Rise of the Empire, by Walter Geer. This recording is in the public domain. 20. 1806. Queen Hortense. On Thursday, the 5th of June, 1806, at the Tuileries, Louis Bonaparte was proclaimed King of Holland. He seems to have accepted his new dignity with much reluctance, not that he felt unequal to the position, for he believed himself superior to any task, but because he feared the dominating force of his brother. That the Emperor, in sending Louis to Holland, intended to make that country in fact a part of the Grand Empire, clearly appears in his formal address. In effect he said to Louis, "You are first of all a Frenchman. You are Constable of the Empire. You are the guardian of my strong places. The interest of France commands. You must obey." Louis in substance replied, "I am a Hollander. The people who acclaim me look to me for their happiness." If Louis was not fully satisfied, for her part Hortense was in despair. She felt that it was almost an act of suicide for her to leave Paris to go to this distant country, so cold and damp, to be shut up with a husband she detested. After their marriage in January, 1802, Louis and Hortense had resided in the little hotel loaned them by Napoleon in the Rue de la Victoire. Almost from the first day they quarreled over Josephine, whom Louis disliked, and whom he wished as far as possible to keep separated from her daughter. He soon left Paris, and was absent for many months. Practically abandoned by her husband, the second month of her marriage, Hortense spent most of the spring and summer with Napoleon and Josephine at the Tuileries and Malmaison. During the 3 weeks that her mother went to Plombières, Hortense did the honors of the château. The situation was rather equivocal, and naturally gave rise to scandal. It was at this time that rumors were first circulated regarding the relations of Napoleon and Hortense. That there was no foundation for these reports may be stated most positively. Even Bourrienne, who cannot be accused of any great goodwill towards Napoleon, declares, "I am happy to be able to give the most formal and positive denial to the infamous supposition that Bonaparte ever had for Hortense any other feelings than those of a stepfather for a stepdaughter. Authors without belief have attested without proofs not only the criminal liaison which they have imagined, but they have even gone so far as to say that Bonaparte was the father of the eldest son of Hortense. It is a lie, an infamous lie." These reports, first put in circulation by the Royalists, were repeated by members of the Emperor's own family, and soon reached his ears. Under the circumstances, Napoleon thought it advisable for Hortense to have a permanent home of her own. The last of July, accordingly, he purchased in the name of Louis and Hortense, and presented to them, a fine mansion near their temporary residence. Here, on the 10 October, 1802, was born their first child, Napoleon Charles. In response to a formal order from his brother, Louis returned to Paris just in time to be present on the interesting occasion. The birth of this child brought about a temporary reconciliation between Hortense and her husband, but Louis soon became uneasy again, and left Paris for another absence which lasted until September, 1803. Then for a short time they lived together at Compiègne, where his brigade was stationed. In the spring of 1804, Louis bought a large hotel in Rue Ceruti, now Rue Lafitte, a most pretentious but very gloomy house without a ray of sunlight. At the same time he acquired at Saint-Leu, about 12 miles from Paris, a very beautiful country estate. For these two properties he paid approximately 1,000,000 francs. Hortense spent the summer at Saint-Leu, which is very near Malmaison. On the 10th of October, 1804, she returned to her Paris house, where on the following day was born her second son, Napoleon Louis. This was the child who was baptized with so much pomp by the Pope himself at St. Cloud, just a week before his return to Rome. During the campaign of Austerlitz, Louis was governor of Paris, and displayed so much zeal and activity in his new post that he won the enthusiastic approval of the Emperor, who always showed for him a strong partiality. After his great victory of the 2nd December, 1805, Napoleon began to carry out his projects for family alliances, and for the formation of a ring of buffer states surrounding the French Empire. Pursuant to this policy, he arranged the 2 marriages spoken of above, and now he appointed Louis King of Holland. Under the orders of the Emperor, Louis should have set out for Holland at once, But upon one pretext or another he deferred his departure for a week. On the 18th of June the new King and Queen of Holland arrived at the Hague, where they passed the night in the old royal villa known as the House in the Wood, Huis ten Bosch, about a mile and a half from the city. 5 days later they made their solemn entry into the capital, escorted only by native troops. On the 1st day of July, Louis wrote the Emperor that as soon as his affairs were in good order, he should leave the Hague for a month or 6 weeks to visit the baths. Exactly a month after his arrival, therefore, he set out for Wiesbaden accompanied by Hortense. Not satisfied with this course of baths, a month later he proceeded to Aix-la-Chapelle. While Prussia was arming and Russia preparing for war, the new King of Holland continued conscientiously to take his cure. At first Hortense seemed quite contented at the Hague. Her vanity was flattered, and her imagination carried away by the glamour of royalty. In departing for Wiesbaden she took with her the little Crown Prince, who was her favorite child, but left the younger boy in Holland. She was on better terms with her husband than at any period since their marriage. She was also looking forward to going to Paris for the fête of the Emperor, when she expected to meet Eugène. Only to think of it was happiness. At daybreak on Thursday, the 25th September, 1806, accompanied by Josephine, the Emperor left St. Cloud to put himself at the head of his army. They dined at Châlons, and continued their route during the night. At 2 o'clock the next afternoon they reached Metz, where the Emperor passed 6 hours in inspecting the fortifications. At 10 o'clock they resumed their journey, and arrived at Mayence on the morning of the 28th September. It is not easy to explain why Josephine wanted to accompany Napoleon to Mayence, and take up her residence there during the campaign. The Emperor certainly wished her to remain at the capital and fulfill her obligations there. Her thought seems to have been to keep as near as possible to Napoleon, in the hope that he would send for her, as at Strasbourg, as soon as his affairs would permit. Napoleon remained only 4 days at Mayence, leaving on the evening of the 1st of October. When the hour for departure came he embraced Josephine, who was in tears, and did not seem able to tear himself away from her. With one arm around his wife, he drew Talleyrand to him with the other, and cried, "It is very hard to leave the 2 persons that you love the most." Then, after once more embracing Josephine very tenderly, he departed. Hortense and Stéphanie both came to Mayence to keep Josephine company. The 2 cousins were not sorry to be separated for a time from their uncongenial husbands. As at Strasbourg the previous year, Josephine held a miniature court, and received the homage of the princes of the Confederation of the Rhine. The sadness of Napoleon was not of long duration. Once more in his element, at the head of his troops, he regained his habitual composure. As usual, his correspondence kept Josephine fully informed of his movements. To the Empress at Mayence: Bamberg, 7 October, 1806. I leave to night for Kronach. My whole army is on the march. All goes well, my health is perfect. I have not yet received any letter from you, but have heard from Eugène and Hortense. Stéphanie must be with you. Her husband, who wishes to take part in the campaign, is with me. Adieu, 1,000 kisses, and good health. Napoleon. Geer, 2 a.m., 13 October, 1806. My affairs are going well, and everything as I would wish. With God's help, in a few days I think that matters will take a very bad turn for the poor King of Prussia, whom I pity personally because he is good. The Queen is at Erfurt with him. If she desires to see a battle she will have that cruel pleasure. I am in splendid health. I have put on flesh since my departure. Nevertheless, I personally cover 20 to 25 leagues a day on horseback, in carriage, in every way. I retire at 8 and get up at midnight. I often think that you are not yet in bed. Ever thine, Napoleon. Vienna, 3 a.m., 15 October, 1806. I have conducted some fine manoeuvres against the Prussians. I gained a great victory yesterday. They had 150,000 men. I have taken 20,000 prisoners, 100 cannon, and some flags. I was near to the King of Prussia, and just failed to capture him and the Queen. I have been at my bivouac for 2 hours. I am very well. Adieu, mon ami. Take care of yourself, and love me. If Hortense is at Mayence, kiss her for me. Also Napoleon and the little one. Napoleon. Weimar, 5 P.M., 16 October, 1806. Monsieur Talleyrand will have shown you the bulletin. In it you will have perceived my success. Everything has turned out as I planned. Never was an army defeated worse, nor more completely destroyed. It only remains for me to say that I am well, and that the fatigue, the bivouac, the night watches have fattened me. Adieu, ma bonne amie. 1,000 best wishes to Hortense and to the big Monsieur Napoleon. Tout à toi, Napoleon. Potsdam, 24th October, 1806. I am here since yesterday, and remain here to day. I continue to be satisfied with my affairs. My health is good, the weather very fine. I find Sans Souci very agreeable. Adieu, mon ami. Napoleon. At Sans Souci the Emperor found the chamber of the great Frederick in the same condition that he left it at the time of his death, and still cared for by one of his old servants. On Sunday he visited the garrison church, where in a vault under the severely plain Lutheran pulpit is the marble sarcophagus which contains the ashes of the king. He ordered sent to the Hôtel des Invalides at Paris the sword and hat and sash of the great warrior which lay upon his tomb. Departing now for the first time from his usual practice, on Monday the 27th October, Napoleon entered Berlin in triumph and took up his residence in the royal palace. Meanwhile at Mayence, Josephine was sad and uneasy because the Emperor still failed to send for her. Napoleon writes: To the Empress at Mayence, Berlin, 1st November, 1806. Talleyrand has arrived, mon ami, and tells me that you do nothing but cry. What then do you wish? You have your daughter, your grandchildren, and good news. These certainly should be reasons enough to feel contented and happy. The weather here is superb. During the whole campaign not a single drop of rain has fallen. I am in excellent health, and all goes well. Napoleon. Napoleon, who rightly held Queen Louisa largely responsible for the war, and for the disasters which had overwhelmed her people, in his bulletins had referred to the unfortunate woman in terms which were hardly chivalrous. Josephine was struck by his lack of delicacy, and ventured to reproach him for his references to the Queen. This called forth the following reply: To the Empress at Mayence, Berlin, 6 November, 1806. I have received your letter, in which you seem to be displeased because I have spoken disparagingly of women. It is true that I detest meddlesome women above everything. I am accustomed to women who are kind, sweet, and winning. Those are the ones I like. If they have spoiled me, it is not my fault but your own. Besides, you will see that I have been very good for one who proved herself sweet and reasonable. When I showed Madame Hatzfeld her husband's letter, she said to me with sobs and great simplicity, "It is indeed his handwriting." When she was reading it her accent went to my heart. She troubled me. I said to her, "Very well, madame, throw the letter into the fire. I shall no longer have it in my power to punish your husband." She burned the letter, and seemed very happy. Since then her husband is entirely tranquil. 2 hours later he would have been lost. You see, then, that I like women who are good, sweet, and naïve, for they are the only ones who resemble you. Adieu, mon ami. I am well. Napoleon. To explain this episode, it should be stated that Prince de Hatzfeld, the Prussian governor of Berlin, had been allowed to retain his position upon his promise, under oath, that he would attend solely to the safety and welfare of the capital. A letter from him had been seized, in which he gave information of the positions of the French army around Berlin. This, by the laws of war, was military treason, and the penalty was death, if found guilty by a military commission. This short campaign is without parallel, even in Napoleon's marvelous career. The pursuit of the defeated army by Murat was the most remarkable on record. With his cavalry, in 3 weeks he literally galloped from the Saale to the Baltic, sweeping up the remnants of the Prussian army, and capturing the fortresses as he passed. To the Empress at Mayence, Berlin, 9 November, 1806. Ma bonne amie, I have good news to tell thee. Magdebourg has surrendered, and the 7 November I captured at Lubeck 20,000 men who escaped a week ago. Thus the whole army is taken. Prussia has left only 20,000 men beyond the Vistula. Several of my army corps are in Poland. I still remain at Berlin. I am quite well. Tout à toi, Napoleon. Berlin, 16 November, 1806. I have thy letter of the 11 November. I see with satisfaction that my sentiments give thee pleasure. Thou art wrong to think that they are flattering. I have spoken of thee as I see thee. I am sorry to learn that thou art bored at Mayence. If the journey were not so long it would be possible for thee to come here, for there is no longer any enemy. He is beyond the Vistula, 120 leagues from here. I will wait to hear what you think of it. I should also be very glad to see Monsieur Napoleon. Adieu, ma bonne amie. Tout à toi. My affairs will not yet permit me to return to Paris. Napoleon. In his final letter from Berlin on the 22nd of November, Napoleon wrote Josephine that he would make up his mind in a few days either to send for her or to have her return to Paris. 4 days later, from Custrin, he told her to be ready to start, and that he would let her know in 2 days if she should come. To the Empress at Mayence. Meseritz, 27 November, 1806. I am going to make a tour in Poland. This is the first city. This evening I shall be at Posen, after which I will call you to Berlin, in order that you may arrive the same day as myself. My health is good, the weather rather bad. It has rained for 3 days. My affairs go well. The Russians are in flight. Napoleon. Posen, 29 November, 1806. I am at Posen, the capital of Great Poland. Cold weather has set in. My health is good. I am going to make a little trip in Poland. My troops are at the gates of Warsaw. Napoleon. Posen, 2 December, 1806. To-day is the anniversary of Austerlitz. I attended a ball in the city. It is raining. I am well. I love and long for thee. My troops are at Warsaw. It is not yet cold. All these Polish women are like French women, but there is only one woman for me. Dost thou know her? I could easily paint her portrait, but I should make it so flattering that you would hardly recognize it. Nevertheless, to tell the truth, my heart would only have kind things to say. The nights are long all alone. Tout à toi, Napoleon. The following day, from the same place, Napoleon wrote 2 long letters, one at noon and the other at 6 o'clock. To the Empress at Mayence. Posen, 3 December, 1806. I am in receipt of your letter of the 26th November, in which I note 2 things. You say that I do not read your letters. You are entirely wrong. I am vexed with you for having such a wrong idea. You tell me that it may have come from some dream, and you add that you are not jealous. I have observed for a long time that persons who lose their temper always claim that they are not mad, that those who are afraid often say that they have no fear. You are therefore convicted of jealousy. I am delighted. Nevertheless, you are wrong. Nothing could be further from my thoughts. In the wastes of Poland one thinks little of the fair sex. Yesterday I gave a ball for the provincial nobility. The women are quite pretty, quite luxurious, quite well dressed, even in Parisian style. Tout à toi, Napoleon. Posen, 3rd December, 1806. I have your letter of the 27 November, from which I see that your little head is turned. I thought of the verse, Désir de femme est un feu qui dévore. You must calm yourself. I have written you that I was in Poland, that as soon as winter quarters are settled you can come. You must therefore wait several days. The greater one is, the less volition he has. He is the slave of events and circumstances. You can go to Frankfort and Darmstadt. In a few days I expect to send for you, but it is necessary for events to be favorable. The warmth of your letter shows me that you pretty women have no limitations. What you wish must be. But I am forced to admit that I am the greatest of slaves. My master has no bowels of pity, and this master is the course of events. Adieu, mon ami. Keep well. Tout à toi, Napoleon. The Emperor remained at Posen 2 weeks longer, and during that period he wrote Josephine again 4 times. Her jealousy was far from being calmed by his letters, but to show her affection and her thought of him alone during the long nights, she sent him a rug as a present. To the Empress at Mayence, Posen, 9 December, 1806. I have your letter of the 1st, and am glad to see that you are happier, also that the Queen of Holland wants to come with you. I am late in giving the order, but you must still wait several days. Everything goes well. Adieu, mon ami. I love thee, and wish to see thee happy. Napoleon. Posen, 10 December, 1806. An officer has brought me a rug from thee. It is a little short and narrow, but I thank thee none the less. I am quite well. The weather is very changeable. My affairs are going quite well. I love thee, and much desire thee. Adieu, mon ami. I shall be as happy to send for thee as thou to come. Tout à toi. A kiss for Hortense, Stéphanie, and Napoleon. Napoleon. Posen, 12 December, 1806. I have received no letters from you, but I know that you are well. My health is good, the weather very mild. The winter season has not yet begun, but the roads are bad in a country where there are no paved highways. Hortense will then come with Napoleon. I am delighted. I am only waiting for matters to be in shape for me to have you come. I have made peace with Saxony. The Elector becomes king, and joins the Confederation. Adieu, my beloved Josephine. Tout à toi. Napoleon. Posen, 15 December, 1806. I am leaving for Warsaw, but shall be back in a fortnight. I hope then to be able to send for you. However, if my stay is prolonged, I should be glad to have you return to Paris, where your presence is much desired. You know well that I am governed by circumstances. My health is very good, never better. Tout à toi. Napoleon. The Emperor left Posen before daybreak on the 16th of December, and arrived at Warsaw at 1 o'clock on the morning of the 3rd day, having made 2 stops en route. Learning that the Russian army was at Pultusk, about 30 miles to the north, he at once headed his corps in that direction, and started for the front. The battle fought on the 26th December proved indecisive. The French, under the command of Lannes, were inferior in numbers, and could make little progress against the stubborn resistance of the Russians. The weather was frightful, and the roads almost impassable. The short day was made even shorter by the premature darkness due to the stormy, cloudy weather. The Emperor with his guard lost the way, and arrived on the field of battle long after the affair was over. In 3 letters to Josephine, Napoleon tells of his arrival at Warsaw, and the events which followed. To the Empress at Mayence, Warsaw, 20th of December, 1806. I have no news of you. I am well. I have been here 2 days. My affairs go well. The weather is very mild, and even a little moist. As yet we have had no frost. The season is like October. Adieu, ma bonne amie. I am very anxious to see thee. In 5 or 6 days I hope to send for thee. Tout à toi. Napoleon. Golemine, 29 December, 1806. I send you only a line. I am in a miserable barn. I have defeated the Russians. I have taken 30 cannon, their baggage, and 6,000 prisoners. The weather is horrible. It rains, and we are in mud up to our knees. In 2 days I shall be back at Warsaw, and will write thee. Tout à toi. Napoleon. Pultusk, 31st December, 1806. I had a good laugh over your last letters. You have formed an idea of the fair ones of Poland, which they little deserve. I received your last letter in a wretched barn, where there was nothing but mud and wind, with straw for a bed. To-morrow I shall be at Warsaw. I think that all is over for this year. The army is going into winter quarters. Tout à toi. Napoleon. End of Chapter 20.